This is Investing Insights. I'm your host, Marilyn de Guzman. In this episode, we are speaking with Yanis Tsitos, president of Troy Minerals, with an important update on the company's high-purity silica project in Mongolia. Welcome, Yanis.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Good day.
Yes, great to see you again. So you've just reached an important milestone in your Tsagaan Zalaa silica project in Mongolia. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say I'm the president of Troy Minerals and encourage your audience to check us on trading on CSC with the symbol TROY, Troy. Today we put, as you said, Marilyn, a very important announcement, something that we work about long hours for the last 9 months, I would say, given that we presented this application to the Ministry of Natural Resources of Mongolia back in February. It is a very long process in most cases to obtain a mining permit for any projects globally. It doesn't matter the jurisdiction you are in. In silica, which is silicon oxide, it's a little bit simpler because effectively, you do not process the material at this stage. At least we don't have a plan to put a silicon plant there, but rather mining pure silica. High purity silica is the commodity, is called HPQ. Effectively, it's quartz, that's pure quartz, above 99%. And you mine and you export the commodity as is. At the best case, sometimes you may beneficiate the product with cleaning it up a bit, but you do not use chemicals per se or other toxic substances. Therefore, relatively speaking to gold or copper or other metallic commodities, it is much easier, to obtain environmental permits, so on. So, having said that, still is a laborious process, and we're working hard on that. And there are various steps. So today what we announced was the most important step is the registration of your project into the database of the Ministry of Natural Resources. Is effectively the mining license per se. Now there are several administrative tasks that we have to do that will follow up the next 3 months to conclude that, to get what's called a mine operating license. Okay, but it potentially could be confusing for an audience who reads this news release or any news release on mining permit. We cannot operate a mine tomorrow morning, but at the same time, they cannot remove this permit from us. So this is the most important step in terms of a milestone, because it was the product of a specific council of 15 members that the ministry appoints to check your project, the data, the requirements, but also the deliverables, community relations, all the other aspects in relation to the environment, grant you the mining license, and now require from you to perform a couple of other stuff that, if you like, I can speak in more detail later on.
So that is a really important part of that permitting process, as you said, in any mining project. So getting from here to an actual mining license and eventual production, what are the timelines that you're anticipating?
Yeah, so, and I'm speaking always with a disclaimer here, because this is the information as we have been, discussed and told by the ministry. Apparently, as a parenthesis, I just came back from Mongolia and China this last weekend, where I had a meeting with the Minister of Natural Resources and Industry of Mongolia at the parliament, and we discussed the whole progress of the project and where we go from now. So answering directly your question, is a matter of months, if not weeks. I don't say week. When I say weeks, several weeks, or more than a month at least. So we are targeting to complete all the process from our side before the end of the year, frankly speaking, well before Christmas. Apply by the end of November, if possible, to submit the rest of the papers. And we were told that these are administrative steps, could produce delays, but not to the extent that the mining license is in any danger. So if all go well as we plan with our team in Mongolia and in Canada, we hope to receive that sometime in early 2026 and initiate mining operations as early as late February to early March. And that I'm talking about when you want to start, you don't want to go in the deep winter of January in Gobi Desert to start mining, because although it's a desert environment and during day the temperatures are reasonable, in the night it goes well below zero. So we want to plan everything to have a full season next year and start mining from February on.
It's very exciting. Coming this close to actual mining operations, what would the first phase of production look like?
Yeah, this because this is not a metallic mineral, these are parameters that depend more on your clients and offtake agreements. So I repeat again, silica or high purity quartz is normally a negotiated contract. There's no price that comes out of LME, for example, like copper, gold, but rather the product of a negotiated contract between the company, the producer, and the consumer or a number of consumers. In this case, that's why I mentioned my trip. I was in China too. So Troy Minerals controls two different projects. Nobody else, as far as I know, at least on the public space, has projects in both jurisdictions, North America and also Central East Asia. So speaking about Tsagaan Zalaa, you understand Mongolia is sandwiched between Russia and China, and the biggest consumers of this commodity are China, Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. Therefore, at this phase, at least early phase, we target to send our material to Inner Mongolia, which is the most northern province of China, next to the Mongolian border. There are some towns that I visited, not only in this trip, but even in the past, that they are called the capitals of solar panels or silicon markets on Earth, because that's the place where they produce silicon wafer out of silica to feed the semiconductor business, but also the solar panel business. So at this first phase, to answer your question, come closer to answering your question, we target to send material to China. I can talk about infrastructure as per the news release also we announced. But that will, the amount of the material, because you asked me the tonnage, will depend on the offtake, the actual offtake agreements we're signing in the coming months. So we don't have any material information on that, so to be announced yet, but we are negotiating a number of contracts in addition to metallurgical studies, sending our product to Chinese laboratories where they are testing, and therefore you refine this pricing regime that you are going to sell your product. But like any mine, we will start for several thousand tons per month, and we move to ramp it up towards a significant production sometime later in the 2026 year. So you want to do, as I always say, baby steps before you do your big steps. But I feel very confident to say to the market that we are in a good path, and we are going to create cash flow for Troy Minerals sometime within 2026. As I said, we start mining and hopefully free cash flow late in the year. But, we'll talk more details. I trust that we present many more details on that, and I keep the audience alert to important information that will come out of Troy in the coming weeks and months. Okay, as we materialize more material information, we sign contracts, therefore, and we have to announce all of that.
With high purity silica playing such a critical role in the clean energy transition, as you've mentioned, and in the development of modern technologies, and China still dominating that global supply, what kind of an impact would the Mongolia production have in the current supply dynamic?
Will have impact, will not have impact that will be materially altering, is not, we don't bring oil production here. But at the same time, you want to establish, it's more of an industrial relationship. You want to establish good contacts and securing buyers that will like your product and they keep buying your product with years to come. Okay, so it's a task normally to create this credibility in terms of producing, delivering, and the product remains with the quality and the specifications of the buyer request. As you said, China plays the most important role. Obviously, it is business. This doesn't mean that there is no cyclicity into the system in terms of supply demand. But once you are that close to Chinese border, and I'll talk about the infrastructure, as I said, where we are, and we produce a high quality material, the demand is always there. Now, I don't want to mislead anybody here so this project is not going to come, at least in this first phases, to North America or other parts of the world like Brazil or other areas in Europe. But we're targeting purely out of the Mongolian production to feed the Central East Asia markets, China, hopefully more down the line, even outside of China. But at the same time, I want to remind people that will do work and check Troy Minerals to see our other project in British Columbia called Table Mountain, which is massive. It's bigger in size than the Mongolian asset, the Tsagaan Zalaa asset we have. And it's only 5 kilometers from the railway that connects Toronto to Vancouver. So outside of the city of gold. And we had recent news releases early in the summer that we spoke about the tonnage and the work we do there that is 4311 compliant. And that, in terms of permitting, of course, takes longer time frames to permit the mine in North America rather than in Mongolia. But having said that, we are splitting our hours between the North American asset that will feed, especially in the current demand from the new, I would say, parameters that the United States have established of building up alternatives to the Eastern markets in solar panels or semiconductors in general, and therefore they wanted to build their own plants of silicon in US. So we target the US from that side, and obviously why not Canada to not only export raw material but start building silicon plants by themselves in Canada, all right, one day. So we work towards this plan for North American development, but the Mongolian asset is a captive market out of China at this stage, at least the first couple of years of production from Tsagaan Zalaa. And I want to get this opportunity to discuss a little bit where we are exactly to complement this equation that we said and why China. Tsagaan Zalaa is located only 95 kilometers along a road that in part of that is a paved road, part of that is dirt road, but pretty wide, is no vegetation, is a pure desert flat environment, as you saw in the photographs on the news release. So we plan to truck the material out of Tsagaan Zalaa to the nearest town of 30,000 people. As I announced, it's called Saint's Hand. This is the local, when I say local, I mean Mongolian, I would say, over total Mongolia, depot for silica production by others, like a Japanese operation that already operates there, a private company that exports only to Japan. So we are moving the material to Saint's Hand, where we will build a stockpile facility. There is the Trans-Mongolian Railway that connects Ulaanbaatar to China, passing from that town, and that's where we are discussing logistical now contracts that they will take this material, put it on the rail, and the Chinese border is only 200 kilometers away, and then the Chinese off-taker takes it right away from their landing port, as they call it, on the Chinese side, okay, to feed their own clients. So logistically, in other words, we're working towards proximity to the market, and therefore we feel that our pricing will be very competitive, given that we are only 200 kilometers on rail and about 95 kilometers on track. before we reach the buyer. Okay.
Any last thoughts for investors?
Yeah, the last thoughts is that Troy is a young company. Okay, you can see on our capitalization and stock price, but we are very aggressive. We have built a very good team, both in Canada but also in Mongolia too, and we will have a significant amount of news in the next 12 months overall, I would say, towards maturing to a producer, and therefore I would like the audience to dig deeper. I'm always, available to talk to anybody also directly, but do their own homework about the company, see our latest news releases, check our webpage and our public disclosure in general. Obviously, as we get more material information, we present to the market and try to talk a bit more numbers also in terms of production, and hopefully has a lot of upside as a company to prove to the market and to our own growth plans. All right. So in general, we are living very good times. There is tremendous demand for silicon, but also high purity silica. And it's just a matter for me and the rest of the members of our management to distill this information to the audience. What I try to say sometimes is more difficult to talk about industrial minerals than talking gold. Obviously, gold. I'm coming out of gold business, obviously, by my affairs with gold source mines that we sold last year. But everybody understands gold and of course copper and stuff like that. But not many people understand silica necessarily, and we need to educate the market. There are not many parallels in the market for that. But I would like through INN or other media to find opportunity to talk to people and explain what we plan to do. It's still a very, very important commodity. Silicon is the foundation of everything electronics around us, from semiconductors to green energy, as you said, through solar panels and other material. It's a very expensive commodity when it comes in the ultimate purity form. But as a raw material is not very common, although it's a common metal out there or a mineral in general, SiO2, which is called silica, at the highest possible purity is not very common. So we control two incredible assets in the best two jurisdictions on earth, and we try to build Troy around this production and cash flow out of that two projects.
They're certainly very interesting, especially when it comes to the supply and demand dynamic for this critical mineral, such as the high purity silica.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again, Yanis, for taking the time to speak with me. Interesting conversation yet again.
Yes, very interesting, important milestone for the company. Again, please check us. Feel free to talk to me, any one of you, and let's move towards the coming weeks to reach the new heights. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate your time, Marilyn.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time on Investing Insights.